Malaysia, Mexico, the Republic of Austria, the Portuguese Republic, the Federated Republic of Brazil, the Libyan Arab Jamahiriya, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. We also seek to deepen our cooperative relationship with our cherished and long-standing allies in Canada, Cuba, European Union, Taiwan, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Only through principled and pragmatic multilateralism can we collectively weather the storms that buffet our Caribbean civilization. This spirit of renewed multilateralism must also inform the engagement of the United Nations with this crisis. At their recent London summit, the group of 20 developed economies observed that we are facing a global crisis which needs a global solution. For the 172 member states not invited to participate in that G20 summit, the United Nations is the sole inclusive, democratic, and legitimate forum for complementary global involvement in international economic affairs. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has long viewed this UN involvement and engagement as essential. As such, we have remained deeply and centrally engaged in the process of drafting an outcome document to this conference. We are honored to have our permanent representative, along with the permanent representative of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, co-facilitate the often contentious process of negotiating the outcome document. Their work stands as eloquent testimony of what is possible when rich and poor countries work together in pursuit of a common goal. While the document produced does not fully reflect all of our national interests, needs, and ambitions, it is an important and actionable first step of the world's engagement with this global depression. The draft text contains many concepts of critical importance to the developing world, including a veritable 20-point action plan for meaningful change and international cooperation, including a recognition of the peculiar impacts and needs of small island developing states and other regions in special situations, a call for an inclusive, equitable, people-centered, and development-oriented solution to the crisis, the need for cooperation, coordination, and solidarity in our approach to the crisis, the recognition that developing countries require a greater share of additional resources, the need to restore confidence, trust, employment, and open trade, an acknowledging of the right of developing countries to employ trade defense mechanisms and seek temporary negotiated debt standstills in response to the crisis, a call to ensure that developing countries' national stimulus packages do not adversely affect third countries, an understanding that developing countries must have the fiscal flexibility to implement countercyclical measures, support for regional and sub-regional efforts to address the specific localized needs of affected countries, a call for successful and equitable completions of the Doha trade and Copenhagen climate negotiations, an understanding of the importance of immigrants' rights and the value of remittances to families in developing countries, a call to accelerate efforts to fulfill long-deferred pledges to increase official development assistance, a recognition of the need for new and innovative sources of financing to developing countries, a call for investigation for an enhanced rule for special drawing rights to respond to financial shortfalls, an acknowledgement of the intensifying calls for reform of the current global reserve system, the necessity of improved regulations at all levels, and for an appropriate state role in regulatory matters, the need for an equal and non-discriminatory treatment of all tax jurisdictions, the creation of an independent panel of experts to provide analysis and guidance to policymakers, the need for urgent reforms of the Bretton Woods institutions, and the urgent need for further reforms to the global financial system and architecture. But as you know, Mr. President, a document can be just words on a page. Many hard-fought and commendable United Nations texts languish on the dusty shelves of international indifference and inaction. St. Vincent and the Grenadines therefore calls on the General Assembly to immediately implement the outcome document's call for the establishment of an intergovernmental working group to operationalize and add flesh to these 20 principles. Mr. President, the revered John Maynard Keynes, whose ideas are very much back in vogue these days, once said, quote, "The decadent international but individualistic capitalism in the hands of which we found ourselves after the war is not a success. It is not intelligent, it is not beautiful, it is not just, it is not virtuous, and it doesn't deliver the goods," unquote. This Keynesian declaration could easily have been uttered today. Our collective challenge, therefore, is not so much to embrace new ideas as to forget the old ones. The crisis has opened the eyes of the world to the fallacies, contradictions, and inequalities of a culture of short-term greed, selfish national chauvinism, and casino capitalism. Our fates are intertwined, and our prosperity is indivisible. This moment can and must be the point at which we take the financial, ideological orthodoxy outside of the box of stagnation and failure, and instead place the entire global family solidly on the path of sound and sustainable economic progress. Mr. President, finally, I would be remiss if I did not recognize the tireless effort and tenacity with which you had pursued this most successful and useful conference. I also applaud the vision of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, which first conceptualized a formal United Nations conference on this crisis in a draft resolution tabled last November. We also welcome the efforts taken to date in the national and international context by our traditional allies and partners in the developed North, particularly the new regulatory and institutional arrangements proposed at the national level by our esteemed friend, President Barack Obama of the United States. We hope that these measures represent modest early steps to avoid future crises. Another United States president, the late John F. Kennedy, once said, quote, "The Chinese use 2 brush strokes to write the word crisis. One brush stroke stands for danger, the other for opportunity. In a crisis, be aware of the danger, but recognize the opportunity," unquote. The dangers of this crisis are already apparent. The people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines feel it and know it. Let us today seize the opportunity to work collaboratively and creatively to place people and their welfare at the center of our post-crisis. Thank you.
I thank the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for his excellent statement. With your leave, I would also like to take the opportunity to congratulate the Prime Minister because, as I think you know, he is the father of Camilo, one of our 2 excellent co-facilitators who brought this thing to a happy and with an agreed upon document. Now